The stars were calm that night, or so it seemed. At the edge of the Eridani cluster, a single ship appeared, cutting through the void like a silver arrow. It was unlike any vessel the galaxy had ever seen. Sleek, strong, and silent, the human warship Titanus moved with purpose. No other species had ever sent a ship like this into the heart of the Council's territory. For centuries, humans had been a curiosity, sometimes a nuisance, rarely taken seriously. Now, they had arrived, and the galaxy's most powerful fleets trembled without even firing a shot. Inside the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, alarm rippled through the assembled leaders. Tall, spiny, scaled, and many-limbed, they argued among themselves. "It's just a single human vessel," hissed Admiral Kruth, his tongue flicking nervously. "We've destroyed their scouts before, there is nothing to fear." But other council members shook their heads. A shimmering avian diplomat muttered, "You underestimate them. Every time we do, we pay." Her golden feathers ruffled with unease. There were stories, myths really, of human ingenuity. Tales of entire fleets collapsing because humans had found an unexpected solution. Their homeworld was tiny, weak, primitive by any measure. Yet somehow, humans survived every threat, every attack, every attempt to contain them. And now, a full-scale warship had appeared where none should have been. On board the Titanus, Captain Elena Maris walked slowly along the command deck. Her boots made no sound on the polished floor, yet her presence carried authority. She looked at her crew and saw determination in every face. Humans were not tall or strong by galactic standards. They were not covered in armor or natural weapons, but they had courage, intelligence, and an unbreakable will. That had carried them through extinction events, through wars, through disasters no one else could survive. And it would carry them now. "Elena," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice steady but soft. "They are sending multiple ships. They are powerful." Elena nodded, her eyes scanning the displays. A map of approaching vessels blinked in red. "I know," she replied simply, "but we are not afraid. We never are. Remember what we have faced before. This is just another challenge, just another test." Her words carried calm and certainty. They were more than encouragement, they were truth. Humans did not back down. They never had, and they never would. Each crew member moved with quiet precision, checking systems, calibrating shields, readying weapons. Not for glory, not for conquest, for survival, and for the pride of a species that had always fought no matter the odds. Outside the ship, alien fleets began to converge. Sleek ships of silver and black formed a blockade, their weapons glowing with lethal energy. From every direction, Council warships closed in, confident in their numbers, their technology, their centuries of experience. "A single human warship cannot stand against us," they said. "They will surrender or die." But the Titanus did not quiver. Its sensors were alive with activity, scanning, calculating, predicting. Inside, humans moved as one, a single mind distributed across 1,000 bodies. Their unity was a force aliens could not understand. They had survived apocalypses, conquered challenges that should have destroyed them, and now they would face the galaxy's finest. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the first Council ship came within striking range. And somewhere deep in space, a human warship glimmered, small but unstoppable. Captain Elena Maris looked at the approaching fleet and whispered, "Let them come. We are ready." The universe, for the first time, wondered if humanity was something more than a small, insignificant species. Perhaps they were a force that could not be measured. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were unstoppable. The first message came through like thunder across the void. A deep, resonant voice from the Council's flagship Vorthan's Pride boomed in every channel. "Human vessel, surrender immediately. You face the combined might of the Galactic Council's finest. Resistance is futile." On the bridge of the Titanus, the message echoed silently. The crew's eyes met each other, calm and steady. Captain Elena Maris's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "We came to speak," she said softly. But we will defend ourselves if we must. The words carried a quiet defiance. They were human words, simple yet powerful, and the meaning was clear. They would not bow, they would not run, and they would not surrender. Somewhere deep in the council fleets, a ripple of unease spread. These humans, they were not like any other species, and then the attack came. Energy beams streaked across the stars, slamming into the hull of the Titanus. Alarms blared, warning lights flashed, and the ship shook violently. For a moment, the crew felt the power of the Council's fleet, their finest warriors, their most advanced weapons trained to perfection, striking as one. But the humans did not panic. "Divert power to shields," Captain Elena ordered, her voice calm, steady. The crew responded instantly, moving as one. Shields hummed, absorbing the energy, bending it around the hull. Titanus twisted, slid, and darted like a living thing, weaving through the enemy fire with impossible speed. Alien admirals on the council ships stared at their screens in disbelief. "How?" hissed Admiral Kraith. His fingers trembled over the controls. Every attack they launched was met with a counterstrike. Every calculated maneuver failed against the human ship. It was as if the Titanus anticipated their every thought, every move, every tactic. Inside the Titanus, Lieutenant Mara's hands flew over the controls, guiding the ship through the blockade. "Captain, they're focusing on us," she said, fear tinged with awe. Elena nodded. "Good. Let them. We will show them what humanity can do." And then, with a precision that stunned the galaxy, the humans struck. A concentrated pulse of energy ripped through the lead council ship. The Vorthon's pride tearing its hull apart in a brilliant explosion. The blast was blinding, lighting up the void like a miniature supernova. Alien crews scrambled, disbelief frozen on their faces. Their strongest, most elite ship had been destroyed by a single human warship. The Titanus moved on. Every strike was measured, deliberate, merciless in its efficiency. Ships that thought themselves invincible fell like dominoes, one by one. The humans were not reckless. They were precise, calculating, and terrifyingly effective. A young ensign whispered, voice barely audible over the alarms, "Captain, how are we doing this?" Elena's gaze swept across the bridge, meeting every pair of eyes. "Because we are human," she said simply. "We survive, we fight, we never give up, and we will protect what is ours, no matter the odds." The Council's fleet reeled, unprepared for the force they faced. Their finest pilots and warships, trained to perfection, were being shattered by one vessel from a small, seemingly insignificant world. Panic began to replace strategy. Orders were shouted, beams fired blindly. But the Titanus moved through the chaos like a predator in a forest of prey. By the time the second wave of council ships fell, the galaxy began to realize the truth. These humans were not just survivors. They were something else entirely. Something that no one could calculate, no one could predict. Something unstoppable. And in the silence between bursts of fire, amidst the wreckage of the Council's mightiest fleet, the Titanus glided forward, calm, unbroken, and ready for what came next. Humanity had made its presence known, and the galaxy would never forget it. The battle raged across the void. The Council's fleets, their pride shattered by the destruction of their flagship, regrouped. Ships twisted and turned, trying to form new formations, hoping that sheer numbers could overwhelm the lone human warship. But the Titanus was ready. Its sensors scanned every approach, every weapon fire, every movement with flawless precision. Humans thrived in chaos, and chaos was exactly what they created. Captain Elena Maris stood on the bridge, her eyes sharp and steady. "They're fast, but predictable," she said, almost to herself. Then, louder, she called, "All units, focus on their lead cruisers. Disable engines first, then weapons. Keep them off balance. One strike at a time." The crew moved with near-perfect synchronization. Humans had faced impossible odds before, They had survived natural disasters that would have ended entire civilizations. They had fought wars on their own planet, outnumbered and outgunned, yet they endured. That same resilience was now being tested among the stars, against an enemy that believed it was untouchable. Council ships fired relentlessly. Energy beams streaked through space. Missiles screamed toward the Titanus, and explosions erupted in the distance. But the humans did not falter. Shields flared to life, weapons responded with deadly accuracy, and maneuvers no alien pilot could predict left the enemy frustrated and confused. A young ensign, barely 16 cycles old, leaned over her console. Her hands shook. "Captain, they're still coming. So many of them." Elena turned and smiled softly, a calm that radiated through the bridge. "Good," she said. "Let them come. We are human. We adapt. We survive. And we never surrender." The Titanus twisted through the fleet like water around jagged rocks. Council missiles disintegrated before reaching their target. Enemy beams bent around the ship, absorbed or diverted effortlessly. Every move the humans made seemed impossible, yet it flowed naturally, instinctively. They were a single entity, a force of life and will, and no machine, no weapon, no alien fleet could stop them. Then came the first major strike. Captain Elena targeted the lead cruiser of the Council's regrouped fleet. Her fingers danced over the controls as the ship launched a precise energy volley. The blast struck and the cruiser's hull ruptured in a fiery explosion. Its engines died, sending it drifting into the void like a corpse. Shock rippled through the Council forces. Their elite fleet, the pride of centuries, was crumbling before a single human ship. Morale broke. Fear spread faster than any weapon could. Even the most confident alien commanders hesitated, their fear mirrored on every face. Inside the Titanus, the crew moved as if choreographed. "Focus on the right flank," Elena ordered. "Take out their weapons. Disable them one by one." Human fire struck again and again, dismantling cruisers and destroyers with precision that left no time for recovery. By the end of the cycle, the Council fleet was in disarray. Ships scattered, formations broken, strategy forgotten. Panic had replaced control. Confusion replaced arrogance. Humans had not just survived, they had turned the tide completely. Captain Elena stood silently on the bridge, watching the chaos unfold. She did not celebrate, for humans did not need glory. Their victory was measured in survival, in the protection of what they held dear. But in that moment, one truth was undeniable. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. They had dismissed a species that seemed small, weak, insignificant, and now, humanity had proven that courage, unity, and determination could defeat even the most powerful forces in the universe. As the Titanus glided through the wreckage, unbroken and unharmed, a single thought echoed across the bridge. Humanity was no longer just a small planet in the galaxy. Humanity was a force, a storm no one could predict, no one could contain, and no one could ever ignore. The void was filled with silence, but it was a silence that screamed. News of the Titanus's victory spread faster than any fleet could travel. Across the Eridani cluster, every system intercepted the transmissions, the footage of the human warship dismantling the Council's finest. Entire fleets froze mid-battle, just to watch, unable to believe what their sensors displayed. Alien commanders whispered among themselves, voices trembling with disbelief. This is impossible," said a Vorthon admiral, fingers gripping the console. "One ship, one human ship, and yet, our finest, destroyed." The fear was contagious. From the smallest scout to the largest dreadnought, alien crews began to doubt themselves. Rumors of human courage, human ingenuity, and human ruthlessness had existed for centuries, but now it was reality. The Titanus was not just a warship, it was a message. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy could no longer ignore them. On board the Titanus, Captain Elena Maris walked calmly along the bridge. Her eyes scanned the sensors, her mind calculating the next moves. "They fear us," she said softly. "Good. Let them fear us. Let them see that we are not a species to be underestimated." Her crew moved as one, every human in perfect harmony, with the ship and each other. They had trained for this moment for cycles, yet no simulation could fully prepare them. And yet, despite the fear around them, the humans remained calm. They thrived under pressure. That was their strength, the unshakable courage that came from centuries of surviving what others could not. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice tense but steady, "another fleet is approaching. Faster. Larger than before." Elena's gaze hardened. "Then we show them what it means to challenge humanity." The alien ships arrived like a storm, engines blazing, weapons ready to fire. Their confidence, built on centuries of dominance, was now tainted with fear. They knew the stories, the warnings, but no one had truly believed the humans could be this formidable. Now they would find out. The Titanus moved into position. Its hull reflected the light of distant stars, but it also reflected something else: determination. The humans did not aim to destroy recklessly. They aimed to survive, to prove their presence, to protect their home and their people. Every movement was precise, every strike calculated, every decision instinctive. Alien leaders shouted orders, trying to coordinate attacks, but panic had already taken hold. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and formations dissolved under the pressure of human strategy. It was not just technology that overwhelmed them. It was instinct, unity, and courage. Humans had an unpredictability no machine could match. "Engage," Captain Elena commanded. The human warship surged forward, gliding through the fleet like water through rocks. Energy blasts struck alien cruisers with pinpoint accuracy. Engines exploded, weapons failed, and panic spread like wildfire across the Council's forces. Inside the Titanus, the crew worked tirelessly, undeterred by the chaos around them. They moved with precision, yet each human instinctively understood the importance of the moment. They were not just fighting for survival, they were showing the galaxy who humanity truly was. By the time the first wave of this new fleet faltered and began to retreat, fear had taken root across the cluster. Whispers spread from fleet to fleet. The humans were unstoppable. Legends were born in a single battle, and the galaxy would never forget the sight of the Titanus gliding unharmed through the wreckage of the finest Council fleet. Captain Elena Maris stood silently on the bridge, watching the alien ships scatter. She did not feel triumph or pride. Humans measured victory differently. It was about survival, about courage, about the undeniable truth that they would never be broken. And in that silence, the Titanus carried the weight of a message the galaxy would hear forever. Humanity was here, and they would not be ignored. The void burned with energy. Alien ships surged forward like a tidal wave, determined to crush the lone human warship that had humiliated their fleet. Their weapons glowed bright with power, missiles streaked through space, and energy beams ripped the darkness. The Council's finest had never faced such defiance, and now, desperation sharpened their attacks. On the bridge of the Titanus, Captain Elena Maris stood steady, her eyes calm and focused. "Brace for impact," she said softly, yet every word carried confidence. "This is it. Show them what humanity is capable of." The crew moved like a single organism. Every console, every weapon, every system pulsed in perfect coordination. Humans were not the strongest species, nor the fastest, nor the largest, but they had something no alien could match: instinct, courage, and unity. They adapted in the blink of an eye, turning chaos into opportunity. The first wave of Council. Cruisers slammed into the human ship's path. Their weapons fired, their shields flared, but the Titanus flowed through the storm with precision. One by one, the alien vessels were disabled. Engines ruptured, weapons jammed, and communication systems flickered into silence. The humans did not waste fire. Each strike was surgical, designed to neutralize rather than destroy unnecessarily. Efficiency was their weapon. "Target the lead dreadnought," Elena commanded. Her hands moved over the controls with the grace of a seasoned warrior. "Focus all energy on its engines. Disable it first." The crew obeyed instantly. Energy surged from the Titanus, striking the massive alien ship. It shuddered violently, sparks erupting across its hull before engines failed completely. Drifted helplessly, the dreadnought became a monument to human precision. Other ships tried to rescue it, but their efforts were met with careful counterattacks. Alien admirals shouted orders, their confidence cracking. "Fire! Focus fire! Don't let them pass!" But their coordination was fractured. Panic and disbelief replaced strategy. Their ships moved without purpose, their attacks wild and inefficient. Every step they took played into the humans' hands. Inside the Titanus, Lieutenant Mara adjusted the shields and weapon targeting systems, her face lit by the glow of consoles. "They're trying to flank us," she said. "Let them try," Elena replied. Her voice was calm, unshakable. "We fight as one. Every move they make, we anticipate. Every strike they launch, we counter. We are human. We survive. And we endure." The way. Battle raged on, a clash of skill, courage, and willpower. Alien ships fell like dominoes, each strike precise, each maneuver flawless. The Titanus became a storm of silver and fire, unstoppable and relentless. The galaxy's finest warriors had never seen an opponent like this. They had underestimated humanity, and now their arrogance was their downfall. Amid the chaos, one small explosion occurred near the human ship. Sparks flew across the hull, alarms blared, and a moment of tension gripped the crew. But no fear broke their ranks. In seconds, repairs were made, systems recalibrated, and the Titanus surged forward. Stronger and more focused than ever, humans thrived in adversity. That was their true power. By the time the Council's fleet began to scatter, panic fully taking hold, the Titanus had dismantled the lead cruisers, destroyed key weapon systems, and left the remaining forces disorganized and demoralized. Alien leaders stared at their screens in disbelief. Their finest ships, their most elite warriors, had been shattered by one human warship. Captain Elena Maris looked over the bridge, her crew calm, efficient, unbroken. They had done the impossible. The Titanus glided through the void, victorious, not just because of firepower, but because of human courage, unity, and indomitable will. The galaxy had witnessed a force it could neither predict nor understand. Humanity had proven, once again, that the smallest worlds could harbor the fiercest hearts. And in the silence that followed, one truth rang out. No fleet, no matter how mighty, could stand against the will of humans fighting for survival. The battlefield was quiet now, but the silence was heavy with awe and fear. The wreckage of the Council's finest ships floated in the void, twisted metal drifting like fallen monuments. Explosions had ceased, but the devastation remained. Alien commanders scrambled to regroup, their pride shattered, their fleets scattered. Across the Eridani cluster, the story of the Titanus's victory spread like wildfire, transmitted from fleet to fleet, system to system. On board the human warship, Captain Elena Maris stood on the bridge watching the stars. Her crew moved quietly, checking systems, repairing minor damage, and ensuring that the ship remained at peak performance. Humans did not revel in destruction. They measured success by survival, precision, and the protection of their own. Yet in the calm after the storm, they understood the full magnitude of what they had accomplished. Lieutenant Mara spoke softly, almost in disbelief. "Captain, they will never forget this. Entire fleets, shattered by one ship. One human ship." Elena nodded slowly, her eyes scanning the void. "They will not forget. But we did not fight for glory. We fought for humanity. We fought for survival, and we showed them the truth. Never underestimate humans, no matter how small or insignificant they seem." Outside the ship, survivors of the Council's fleet retreated. Fear had taken root in their hearts. They whispered tales of human courage, ingenuity, and ruthlessness. "They are unstoppable," one admiral muttered. "We cannot defeat them. Not like this." Panic had replaced pride. Confusion replaced strategy. Across the cluster, even those who had not faced the Titanus directly began to understand. Humanity was something new, something powerful, and something the galaxy had always underestimated. Inside the ship, the crew worked tirelessly yet calmly. They repaired minor damage, recalibrated weapons, and prepared for any further threats. Each human moved with purpose, knowing that vigilance was as important as courage. Humanity had survived countless challenges on their own planet, and that instinct, that resilience, carried them even now into the depths of space. Captain Elena walked along the bridge, observing her crew. Each face reflected focus and determination. "We do not seek war," she said softly, "but we will defend ourselves. We do not seek to conquer, but we will protect what is ours. And the galaxy will learn to respect that." She paused, looking out into the void where the wreckage of alien ships glimmered in the light of distant stars. They thought fear would make us bend. They thought numbers would crush us. But humanity survives through courage, through unity, through will. That is our power. That is why we endure. The Titanus glided silently through the debris, untouched by panic or despair. The human crew, united and unwavering, represented more than just a species. They were the embodiment of determination, intelligence, and bravery. The galaxy had witnessed a small warship doing what countless fleets could not. Humanity had proven that even one vessel, one crew, one species could defy expectations and shatter the finest armadas in existence. Messages began arriving from distant systems, some of them fearful, others respectful. Alien leaders reconsidered every assumption they had made about humans. Some would plot revenge, others would approach with caution, but all knew one undeniable truth. Humanity had arrived as a force in the galaxy, and the Titanus was the symbol of their arrival. Captain Elena Maris stood silently on the bridge, her eyes reflecting the starlight. The battle was over, but its echo would ripple through the galaxy for centuries. Humans had faced the finest, warriors of the Council, and emerged unbroken. The galaxy had learned, too late, that courage, unity, and indomitable will were weapons more powerful than any technology. And as the Titanus sailed onward, calm and resolute, one fact remained clear. Humanity would never be underestimated again. The stars stretched endlessly before the Titanus, glittering cold and distant. Yet aboard the ship there was warmth, a quiet confidence, the kind that came from surviving impossible odds. Captain Elena Maris stood on the bridge, watching the void, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. The Council's finest fleets had been shattered. The galaxy had witnessed the courage, precision, and unity of a single human warship, and the message that humanity carried was clear. They would not be ignored. Lieutenant Mara approached quietly. "Captain." "What, now? They'll send more fleets, won't they?" Her voice trembled slightly, but there was awe behind the fear. She had witnessed the impossible, and yet she felt proud to be part of it. Elena turned to her, eyes steady, calm. "Let them come," she said softly, with quiet authority. "They will learn, as they always do, that humans are not weak. We fight for what is ours, and we endure no matter the odds. They will remember us not because we destroyed their ships, but because we never give up." Outside, the wreckage of the Council's finest drifted silently. Alien commanders whispered tales that would travel light years. "They are unstoppable," one said. "No fleet can match them. No strategy works. They fight like nothing we have ever seen." Fear had spread through the galaxy, but so had respect, for humans had shown that courage, unity, and indomitable will were as deadly as any weapon. The Titanus glided forward, calm, precise, untouched by the chaos it had left behind. Every human aboard moved with purpose, checking systems, repairing minor damage, preparing for whatever challenge lay ahead. They did not seek glory, but they did not fear it. Humanity had survived countless disasters on their homeworld, and now, in the cold void of space, that same instinct to survive, to endure, to fight, guided them. Captain Elena activated the communications array. Her voice, steady and clear, carried across the void to every fleet that dared listen. To all who doubt humanity, we are not your enemies unless you make us so. But we will never bow. We will never surrender. We survive. We endure. And we will always fight for what is ours. The message echoed across the cluster, carrying both warning and awe. Ships paused mid-flight, systems stilled, and for a moment, the galaxy listened. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors but as a force to be reckoned with, and no species would ever forget it. Elena turned from the viewport and looked at her crew. "We are not here for war," she said. "We are here to protect, to survive, and to show the galaxy who we are. But let them remember this moment. Let them remember the courage of humans. Let them remember that no matter the odds, no matter the size of the enemy, humans endure." The crew nodded silently, hearts filled with pride and resolve. They were not soldiers in the traditional sense. They were humans, the survivors, the thinkers, the fighters, the ones who never gave up. And together, they had changed the galaxy's perception forever. Outside, the stars shone indifferent, but humanity's presence now stretched among them, undeniable. The Titanus sailed onward, alone but unbroken, a symbol of what a single human vessel could accomplish. Across the galaxy, whispers would turn to stories, stories to legends, and the legend of the Titanus, of humans facing the finest fleets and shattering them effortlessly, would endure for generations. Captain Elena Maris stood silently, eyes on the distant stars, and allowed herself a small, rare smile. Humanity had proven its place in the galaxy, not through fear alone nor through power alone, but through courage, unity, and the unyielding will to survive. And that truth, she knew, would echo forever. The Titanus disappeared into the starlight, but the memory of its victory remained. The galaxy had learned finally that humans were not to be underestimated, and humanity, patient and enduring, would continue to rise, unstoppable, unbroken, and proud.